Hello and welcome back to Down the Slope. I'm Ewan. I'm hosting again for 2 weeks in a row. Feels like it's been a while. I'm joined by Liam and Greg initially. Harry is going to join us. He's had been held on at work tonight. So hopefully he's with us soon. Greg, how you doing?
Not bad, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Liam,
Hi, doing grand, mate. Thank you. Doing grand.
excellent. First time we've been able to talk about a win since the opening pod of the league season. So we'll get straight into the before the game, shall we? Starting 11, obviously Harry McCarty made the bench. Greg, any real surprises in that starting 11? Obviously there was a few changes from St Mirren with Kenna back into midfield.
I don't think it was any real surprises. It's not what I was looking to see, but yeah, I think that it was a decent team. I think maybe hoping McCurdy was starting, but you understand it. But I thought it was a pretty straightforward side, to be honest.
Yep. Liam, obviously Henderson and Kenna came in for Doidge and Jake Doyle-Hayes in sort of a 4-3-3, or at least it looked like a 4-3-3, but Henderson didn't really spend too much time on the left. Were you surprised to see Henderson again put into that sort of left wing position that we've seen already this season? It's just not working, is it?
I was surprised and disappointed to see Anderson on the left. I think you're right. I think he was trying to stay really close to the sort of central striker, but just wasn't working. He's completely ineffective out there. He doesn't have the pace, the mobility, or the physicality to play that position in this game here in this country. It might work elsewhere where those guys can be a bit more, maybe a bit more fluid and maybe potentially less involved in the game. But I think the other knock-on impact of that is it meant that Yuan was playing through the middle, where I don't really like him through the middle either. I'd rather he was on the left. So just it was a bit higgledy-piggledy. Didn't really work very well. Wasn't a massive fan of but other than that, I mean, the only other thing I think, I was listening to you guys last week. I think it was maybe you and Harry that said you were chomping at the bit for Lewis Miller to get in ahead of Cada. I was on my dog walk listening to that last week, and I was like, "What the fuck are these players talking about?"
I definitely said
here for last season.
No, I definitely said about dropping him, and I think Harry's sort of coming to the thought around his not being a right back, but he's just joining the call now, so let's just pose that question to him.
Let's just put it right to him.
Let's just put it right to him. Harry, Liam's calling you. No. We'll at least let him join. He's fucking hell, he's still in the work username and everything. He's not even changed the name. But no, after St Mirren, I was ready for Cadden to be dropped. I'm not sure that my opinion changed much after the weekend, to be fair. But we'll get on to that. Harry, you've not missed much.
Just before Jimmy comes in here, I'm getting a bit sick of Chris Cadden now. I think I'm getting really sick of him. He can't cross the ball at all. It's driving me insane. He got into a few good positions where you're hoping he just whips the ball in, and he doesn't do it.
Like I said, we'll get on. Two crosses in the box,
but
we'll get on.
But anyway, let's get annihilating Specky, because that's what we're all here for.
Harry, you're showing up late, but how are you doing? And what did you make of the team lineup? That's where we're at.
I'm all right. I had an interview to set up, and it ended up starting 45 minutes late, so it ran smoothly. Nice guy. So yeah.
He's coming to us live inside the Pringles.
I was going to say, I was just about to message me like, get the fucking headset. Right, we'll fucking skip him for a bit until he gets the headset sorted. Right, Liam, I actually thought Hibs started the game right on the front foot, and it was probably the best we've started a game all season. Thought we looked really positive on the ball. Even before the red card, obviously it came, was it the 10th or 11th minute? I thought there was a real energy about the team, and Noah and Kenna in particular impressed in the early stages, I thought.
One thing I think you did get right on last week's podcast in my absence was you did talk about slow starts to games, Easter Road, and just in general.
We've had a lot of good feedback about last week, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I think that was my call. I said that last season we'd been critical of the way we started games. So thank you, Liam. I appreciate the feedback, brother.
But the first 10 minutes were very good. Like the tempo was good. There was nice energy about Easter Road. We were getting forward in numbers. We looked to get the ball forward quickly. Team was set up to enable us to do that. We at least two quite dynamic players in the front three. So I was really pleased, and it was nice. The energy in Easter Road was actually quite good on Saturday, in spite of what happened the weekend previous.
Do you think, Greg, the fact that we just got shots away early helps? I think Yuan in the first minute or two shot when he probably could have done more with it and he squaffed it wide, but I think he then had the other one that he got on target, and there might have been another one in that early period. That directness gets people onside really quickly in a game, doesn't it?
It's a simple game when the goalie rolls the ball out, goes to centre half, into the midfield, into strikers. You get shots on goal. The earlier you get shots on goal, the quicker the fans get onside and get behind the team. I was impressed with the start we made, to be honest. We didn't really give them an opportunity to get in the game. I feel like we were right on the front foot, set our stall out early. It's everything we want to see, really. Everything we've been saying for a while now. And I think that the fans feed off that when the players get at it early doors, and I thought we were quite fluid as well, actually, to be fair.
Yep. Aye, right. Harry, I know your ability of seeing how much of the game was limited at the weekend for various reasons, but something you can definitely comment. Red card, free kick, absolutely the right decision?
I don't think it's questionable, to be honest. Boyle's through on goal. It's smart play. Like I think if he wants to, he could probably take that extra step and get ahead of him, get the shot away. But I think he slows his step up just enough, so the guy has to make the decision. It's difficult from a defender's perspective though, because you never want to go a goal behind. But I'd personally rather have the 11 on the pitch as opposed to 10. But yeah, the referee's not got a choice. As soon as the guy goes and makes contact with Boyle and doesn't win the ball, it's a straight red for me.
Any further comment on the actual tackle, Liam or Greg?
Well, I actually want to mention the pass leading up to it.
Mm-hmm.
The ball over the top. I think we need to be looking at that a wee bit more. I think sometimes we're maybe too keen to play it through the middle instead of actually going over the top and maybe looking for one of the strikers to gamble. I think Poach has tried it again. I mean, his passing was absolutely shite the weekend, but that one he got spun and it allows Boyle to run on it. I mean, you've got pace that up front. Something's going to happen.
I think we spoke about it last week because ultimately it's something that we've done a lot of, especially in the free home games, and at least in the first 10-15 minutes of the weekend. Liam, I guess you're limited to how often you can try and utilise the pace of Boyle and Yuan if teams are sitting a lot deeper. And I was actually quite surprised at how open Killie were in the first 10-15 minutes as well. Like, how can we then get the best out of Boyle or Yuan with a type of passes when you play a St Johnstone at home that we've seen at McDermott Park, or they were reluctant to attack, never mind away from home?
I think with Yuan specifically, it's play him in an area where he can find space, which is probably going to be more likely wide than it's going to be central. Especially if he's always wanting to cut in on his right foot. It seems to be the way. Probably playing somewhere off the left for him to find the position, and possibly even having a playmaker like a Ewan Henderson type and behind him. We saw Scott Allen do it to great effect for years, where he had someone with pace up ahead of him where he could play those incisive passes in behind. I do think that's an option for us. The other option, of course, is to go two up front and play Boyle as your right-sided front man and Ewan as your left-sided front man, particularly in games where maybe we don't have a natural number 9. I think it's interesting because I haven't seen a wee bit of McCurdy without wanting to jump too far ahead on a very limited basis, and what I've seen of him type player is, I think he's a very intelligent footballer. I think he's quick feet, quick movement. I'm not sure, all that said, though, that he will be necessarily the best partner for those two in the Scottish game. We'll come and talk about it maybe later on, but
yeah, we definitely
I think there's maybe other people in the team who'd be more effective at doing that than he would be. But time will tell. Until you see him do it, it's hard to really know.
Aye. Right, back to the actual chronological order of the game. Look, we're all happy with the red card. I know around us there was some debate about, would you have rather had the because we're thinking, oh well, if it's no penalty, it's a red card, and it was, oh well, I'd rather get the goal, because obviously at the time but I was personally, I was like, well, no, I'd probably still rather play against the 10 men.
You've got 10 minutes on the clock.
But then
Miss a penalty.
when you score from the direct next play, you get the best of both worlds. Joe Neal's free kick, Greg, probably looked better than it was. Keeper probably should have caught it, but the finish after it, can't really dispute that.
No, it's about time I had a pop at goal. I feel like he's very shy in front of goal, so came back to him. I think it might be. But it sort of came back to him in the way I hit off the player on the wall. Fell perfectly, and like it was a nice finish, and the goalie's about 3 days late diving, but you know, he has done well. I think at that point, that's what we deserved in the game, though. I think our early pressure definitely warranted a goal, and from then on, you're looking to kick on and maybe score a couple more, but yeah, that didn't quite happen.
Mm-hmm. Liam, if you want to add anything on the actual goal, then feel free. But did you feel like almost from the goal onwards, you spoke about the atmosphere in the first 10 minutes, the atmosphere changed quite a lot, I felt, almost with the red card, obviously probably due to expectation, but it was quite an interesting atmosphere in the first half and the second half. The second half got more heated, but the first half felt really strange, I thought, in the stands.
Expectancy is one of the worst emotions that can come across a football ground at a game, because it means that everything that something's not completely spot on, players are met with groans and disappointment, and just the energy just kind of saps out the place. The expectancy was huge, like from that point onwards. And to be honest, without being too critical of the players, they probably failed to deliver on that expectancy. And Killie just kind of did what they might have been set up to do anyway, which was kind of sit up and contain, and then try and hit us with sort of long balls, either over the top or up to the big man. Is it Cameron that was number 27?
Yes, Cameron. Yes, Ennis Cameron.
And I do feel, obviously Easter Road is the home ground that I'm most accustomed to going to, so I probably can't comment on other clubs as freely, but I do feel like at Easter Road it is particularly difficult because the expectations are high, and I think when you go 1-0 up against a team like Killie in 10 minutes when they're playing with 10, the fans, maybe rightly so, expect you to then go and put 4 or 5 on them. That's the expectation, and to be honest, we didn't really look like doing that at any point on Saturday, in my opinion.
We've already spoke about that, but I think that my opinion is that on another day Hibs score 6 or 7. I think we had more than enough chances to warrant that. You can say if they're great chances or not. Henderson should have a double in the first half, no question about it. Yuan should score probably at least one of his chances. Bojang should score. I think McCurdy should score one of his 2 chances. So, straight away we're up with Porteous has a great chance in the second half. But yeah, it was strange for me. I think Greg, I don't know, the comments that we spoke about after the game, you've said probably should have been a cricket score, but you also thought we were shit. It was a really weird game, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Because the chances were there.
We're shit because we didn't score more goals. We're pretty pathetic up top, to be honest. Not impressed at all. However, to caveat that, I guess the cliche is that at least we're getting the right positions and we're creating these chances, but we really need to be scoring more than one goal. I think we're 25 shots on goal or something like that. And you only score one set. That's piss poor.
You couldn't really be. I think normally we're really critical about the volume that we got on target, but I think we still got 8 or 9 on target at the weekend as well.
So
I would say 8 or 9 out of 25 is probably about average, I would think, for most teams.
Scoring one goal.
I know.
But I mean, to be honest, you look at the chances that maybe that were off target. Yuan's in the second half, Henderson's in the first half, McCurdy's header. These chances should be getting tucked away.
No, I agree.
One thing I will say is it's just frustrating that the team's kind of shot themselves in the foot here, because obviously they went in and put in, even if I don't think it'd be fair to say a terrible performance, but as you said, the shots were there and the chances were there. If they score another 2 goals and make it 3-0, the fans leave happy, and the good vibes that we got on after eventually getting Harry McCurdy signed, kind of live on. But It sounds. I wasn't at the game, but it sounds like the stadium almost deflated towards the end of the game.
It did, but anyone that's coming away,
I just
not
like. I
positive,
feel.
I
I feel
think-
there was like a proper wave that, like, you know, football's so momentum based. If you win that 3-0, you're going into the Dundee United game dead confident we're going to go and batter this team that's struggling. But now it's kind of, how many chances do we need to actually score against this Dundee United
I
team?
mean, Bojang missing his chance put me in a bit of a mood. That's
No,
that's
and I get that, but I
unacceptable.
think when you look back on the game, right, Liam, I think, hit the nail on the head with and the reason that we've lost all structure here is because ultimately all that happened in the rest of the game was Hibs dominated.
We
the
missed
ball, created
chances.
and we missed chances. I think Liam hit the nail on the head round with the. I've lost my total train of thought there. I'm really sorry.
I just went and checked the XG because I was interested. I'd not seen it posted since the weekend. I know we probably lose about 25% of our listeners in a minute in XG, but 2.87 versus 0.95. So
they
you're
were
maybe,
they were 0.95.
so you're maybe you're maybe. I mean, 6 or 7's maybe a bit rich, but you're maybe no miles off in your assertion that we should have scored more with the chances created. I came away from the game feeling like we didn't really create a huge number of chances, and actually for parts, not for the whole game, but for parts of the game at 1-0, when Killie were hitting us on the break, I felt like they were more in danger of scoring than we were at points. There were a couple, no loads, but there was a couple of quite anxiety-inducing moments where I was like, we shouldn't be facing into this level of anxiety, having been playing as 10 men since the 10th minute.
I think
There
when
was one from a corner. There was one from a corner that
right
really
after half
scoring.
time. Right after half time. And I think the other one would probably actually been in the first half when Liam it prompted your tweet around Ryan Poitras thinking he's Franz Beckenbauer. We left ourselves, and I actually I thought throughout the game Paul Hanlon was excellent, but I think he done really well in that situation because I think it was him against potentially Free, and he basically went, "Aye, fuck it, Ollie Shaw can have a shot." Like he done well. He kept him wide enough. He blocked off the pass, and that for me, I want my defender back to the goalkeeper. That would be my preference. I don't want him to go sprint towards the ball and get the pass in. I think if he can say cut off the pass and back the goalkeeper, and ultimately that was the right thing. But I felt like throughout the game, like Hibs were really comfortable. In the second half, whilst it is 1-0, yeah, as a fan, you start to get twitchy, but Killie didn't have a shot on target. I'm sorry. I think it came up saying they had one, but it was a cross. You know, it was a cross. Marshall makes a good save, and the game then. What's our? Do we think Kyle Laffey was brought on with the sole purpose of trying to get a Hibs sent off to even up the numbers?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I tell you what, how Poitras is getting booked for that is beyond me. He doesn't even touch him. Like he doesn't touch him. But Laffey goes about lying on the floor, holding his face. I mean, we've seen him do it before with Charlie Mulgrew when he was at Aberdeen. Like he's a fucking child.
And then I think the reason I bring that up is that in itself changes the atmosphere in the ground again, Liam. I think like, everyone gets really up and at it, but also quite angsty because the game all of a sudden got so stretched. It almost gave Hibs that kick up the arse to go and get the second, because there definitely was a period in the second half where we didn't do much.
The frustration around me, a lot of it existed from us just moving the ball too slowly. And I know we'll come out and talk about like probably some of the reasons that might be, but it felt like every time Marshall or someone else got the ball, we went to the centre back, who then went to the full back, who went back inside the centre back, and there was like each of those individuals taking about 5 touches before then moving the ball on. And when you're playing against 10 men, like what's the golden rule that you get taught when you play against 10 men? Move the ball quickly. Like
quick and wide.
From the age of 4 and 5 years of age, you get told when you've got a man advantage, you use it. It was just really basic stuff. And Marshall is a considerably better distributor of the ball than the goalie we've just had, but there was a lot of this rolling it out to the 2 centre backs instruction, and quite often as well, Porteous demanding the ball from the centre midfielders, and it going back the way to Porteous to then start again when his passing can be very, very good, but on Saturday it was pretty poor.
Yeah, well, let's go on to talk about that, Greg or Liam. Have Liam either continue or Greg. Like, we moved the ball well to an extent, but a few individuals, I don't know whether it was Poitras maybe overplaying at times or I felt at times Poch's tried to force it a bit when he had a pass on to the fullback or the winger. He was saying there was sort of, doing that, throwing it, like suggesting there's
Yeah.
nothing on. Like, I totally agree with Liam. Short, sharp passes, keep Killie moving about. That's how you create the space instead of trying to force it on the first one.
I mean, we all do it when we've got the ball and there's nothing on. You start throwing your arms about. But for me, especially that sort of spell before half time, he was so slow. He was just running with it. People were moving. He wasn't passing. Cadden was out wide. Granted, the cross play would have gone out to play, but he wasn't getting the ball wide. He was just trying the World Cup Willie passes, and I thought it was poor. I think at that point you're looking for even your strikers to maybe come out the box and look for it, demand it, and then drag a couple of them out. But at some points it was literally they had 4 and then 5 behind that. So look, it is difficult, but we could have been more proactive in what we're doing. Definitely could have been pulling them out a little bit quicker, moving it quicker. But yeah, I don't know. I felt like he was wanting far too much time on the ball on Saturday. There's a few times where I was getting a bit sick of him, to be honest, because he just wasn't. He just looked so uninterested at times until Lafferty came on and then he sort of sprung into life and started having it with him. But up until that point, I felt like he looked a little bit uninterested.
Greg, you've just obviously spoke about negatives, not the right word, but a player that maybe didn't impress you too much at the weekend. If there was one player that did impress you, who would that be? Then Liam, I'll maybe come to you for the same. A player that maybe stood out and one that stood out for the wrong reasons.
A couple of players that impressed me. First of all, Paul Hanlon, thought he was very good. That's what I want to see from my centre half. Thought he was aggressive. He done well. He defended. He done everything he had to. And also thought Noah Kenna was very good. I think he was carrying the ball a bit further than he usually was at the start of the season. So hopefully he can keep that up, because that's what we need. We need midfielders carrying the ball. Usually we're so static and too close together. But if we can get players carrying the ball, moving at the areas of space, it just makes life so much easier. Makes us more unpredictable as well.
Liam, I'll come to you, and if you want to give us 2 as well instead of 1, then that's all right.
To be honest, I was toiling to give you one after Greg said the 2 I was going to pick. Probably the other one would be Josh Campbell. I think he came off with a knock just after an hour, but I thought he was decent up to that point. Industrious, wanting the ball, looking to get on it. Didn't do a huge amount in the final third, but probably I would say that's quite telling of our performance.
Yes,
I'm kind of struggling to pick a third player that I want to.
I think there's still an obvious one.
Who? When then take it, Joe Newell, because he got
No, but I think he had a really good game. I think he won the ball back a lot, drove us forward, and do you know? I think he got a lot of criticism, and I can't make my mind up if it's rightly so for the one where he tries to play Campbell in at the edge of the box instead of shooting, because you are talking goal of the season stuff. If that pass comes off and you're talking an inch, like it is. But with the confidence he should have had from his goal, I would have liked to have seen him probably shoot again. But no, I thought Joe Newell was really good. I agree with what Greg said. I thought Paul Hanlon was fantastic. I think I can't remember him not winning a aerial battle, be that Ennis Cameron or Kyle Lafferty. I thought he dealt with them really, really well.
And it was in particular in the second half. I don't know if you mind it when the Killie boy broke down the right hand side and Paul Hanlon was basically the only man back, and he was between the corner flag and the edge of the box, and Hanlon just kind of got across it, put his body across him, and just ushered the boy out the way and let it go out. And to be honest, that's the kind of thing he probably has been criticised for not doing enough of in his career. But it was quite impressive the way he just snuffed it out, because that was the only real danger they had.
Yeah, it was also one in the first half where it was down our right side that the boys tried to beat him. He stood strong and he's ended up winning the ball, and we've started an attack for that. So, I've been critical enough of him. At times, I feel like he's not physical enough or he's not strong enough. But I thought he showed all the correct attributes at the weekend that I'd want to see in my centre half.
Yeah, I think just for me, we'll end it on this point. We'll maybe talk a bit about Harry McCurdy as well, actually. But Ewan Henderson, unfortunately, looks miles off it for me now. Really, really does. I don't know if I don't think he's helped by playing on the left wing. you know, I agree with what Liam said earlier. I think he's so easy to get moved off balance. Not even necessarily shrugged off the ball, but you know, just when he's easy to get knocked off balance a little bit, so he can hit that shot, he can play that pass, and I think when you are playing in that wide area, you need to have that little, because he's not overly quick, so you need to have the either be able to hold the fullback off to cut inside or just get past him with pace like a Boyle. And I don't know, I think he looked really leggy. Like he looked knackered. Like that's the second chance he had in the first half. He was out of steam before he even got to hitting the shot, I felt like. So that was disappointing, and I don't know, I'd be surprised if he was to feature at Dundee United. I think, because I do think Josh Campbell, probably been one of his bigger critics, especially on this podcast, but I think since he has been moved to the further forward of the free midfield, definitely looks a lot better. I agree with Liam. I thought he was played well at the weekend. But Harry, your namesake, Harry McCurdy, came off the bench. That definitely brought a little bit of spice to the atmosphere. I think the fans got excited again 5 minutes after half time. What you seen in the game? What did you make of his performance?
I do think he looks like energetic. I think he's the type of guy that's always going to go 100%, and I think that's the type of energy we've kind of lacked up front. Obviously, we've got Boyle in. I don't think they're similar players, but I think that in terms of just having the energy in and around the team, it's a really positive thing to have. Also thought that for a guy who's not particularly tall, he seems to be quite physical. I think that he's going to be the type of guy that would just go and annoy defenders. I don't know if like you've experienced it like five-a-sides or like when you've played 11s or whatever when you're younger, just the type of guy that will throw wee elbows in and like nip at players just to wind them up a bit. He just seems like a proper decent like burst of energy, I think, to have as part of the team.
Mm-hmm. Greg, were you impressed?
Yep. I was also impressed with the fact that he came back and helped out defending. Maybe could have been stronger in a couple of tackles, but as a centre forward after all. Disappointed that he was on the left and Yuan was in the middle. Would have preferred to have had Yuan on the left, Boyle on the right, and McCurdy through the middle, but he seemed to wind up Fraser Murray enough, whatever he done. I think he is a menace. He's a proper pest that people are going to hate playing against, and he is a threat. Absolutely, could have done better with his header, but the energy levels he's shown was very, very impressive.
Yep.
And the goals will definitely come for him. There's no question about that.
Liam, final word on Harry McCurdy, and we'll move on from the game. Less any more you want to add.
He was fine. He didn't do anything of note, to be honest. One opportunity probably should have done a little bit better with, but he didn't really do anything of note. But I think Harry McCurdy will be all right at Hibs because he seems to have got the vast majority of the fan base on board already, so we'll probably buy him a few yards. But he shouldn't have been playing on the left wing. He should have played through the middle.
I think he might be the player to make a few of Chris Cadden's crosses better, because only thing I wanted to say. I think Cadden won his
one.
and Henderson obviously got on Cadden's one in the first half, and definitely should have scored. But yeah, it might actually give your Cadden's, Boyles, Chabraha's. I think McCurdy's always going to make that run across the sort of 6-yard box, so hopefully we see a little bit more production from there. Right, Dundee United. What do we expect? Liam, Harry, I know you pair are definitely going up. Greg, I think you're still to and fro, as am I.
I won't be going up. I'm not at the price of the ticket. Especially we've got a holiday next week, so I will not be going up.
Right then, Harry, Dundee United away. Talk to us. What are you looking forward to the most? The travel, or
you said what are you expecting? I expect lots of cans on the train. I expect several. I expect several pints when we get there, and I expect to stumble into the stadium and watch Hibs dismantle Dundee United. Joe Newell obviously had a fantastic game at the weekend, got himself a goal. Loves a game at Tannadice.
Just tell everyone what you text us before kickoff, about 15 minutes before Joe.
I said, why is Joe Newell undroppable? And every single one of us agreed on a starting 11, and not one of us put in Joe Newell.
Why is Joe Newell undroppable? You said Joe Newell is
apparently
undroppable.
And was I wrong? Was I wrong?
We could reason.
Ultimately, yes, you were wrong.
Anyway, back to Dundee United.
But anyway, as I said, Joe Newell going to have himself an absolute day. But I think that we're in a good position. I think Dundee United looked absolutely terrible against Motherwell. Motherwell carved them apart multiple times. Obviously missed a penalty and everything. I think whether or not their squad's good enough, they're not playing good enough. It's the type of game that hopefully we should be able to exploit. I think we're always a bit better away from home with this team, especially with the pace that we've got up front now. So I do think it's
That's
lining up
transpired
to be...
this season, right enough.
I know, true. But then again, we were at the two. Is that the two most narrow pitches in the top flight?
Man, could be.
Hard to play counter-attacking football when it's like 4 yards up the pitch. But yeah, no, I think we match up well against Dundee United in terms of squad and in terms of venue. So I think we'll be grand.
Liam, what about you? Pre-match sound about the exact same as Harry, aye?
Well, it does. But if anyone from ScotRail or Police Scotland is listening, I will absolutely not be drinking any cans on the train.
No, I meant cans of Diet Coke, of course. Don't be silly, Liam.
Diet Coke's a drink for losers. You wouldn't see me drinking Diet Coke.
Well, it's perfect for me then.
Diet Coke's for cunts that eat chicken, rice, and broccoli 7 nights a week. I know, pre-match and that sounds good. I'm looking forward to travel to Tannadice. It's one of the better away days in the calendar, isn't it? So looking forward to it. I think a huge amount of it depends on the managerial situation between now and Saturday. I suspect if they get someone in, they'll get a bit of a new manager bounce, and that'll give them a boost, particularly if it's someone of a pretty high calibre. I think there's a couple of names that have been linked for the job who I think would do pretty well there, to be honest, with the squad of players.
Can I ask who they are? Because I've actually not seen any
Michael O'Neill's
anything.
been talked about.
Okay.
I think he's been kind of backed in and subsequently gone out. I think that'd be a massive coup for Dundee United. I don't know whether they could pull that off or not, but just given the sort of finances involved, Michael O'Neill might be better served by
staying unemployed, aye.
Given he'll probably be on garden leave at Stoke. So I don't know. There was maybe a bit of chat about Liam Fox getting the job on a permanent basis as well. I'd be very surprised if they went down that route. But then they did give Tam Courts the job, so I suppose they're taking applications from almost anybody to give Tam Courts the job. So I do think there is something in that new manager bounce. I think it gives players a bit of kick up the arse. By it sounds of it, I think they were pretty roundly outplayed by Motherwell at the weekend, but managed to hang on for a 0-0. So there's good players there at Dundee United, and I know I've said this a couple of times already this season, and I've been probably going to be proved to be very wrong at the end of the season in one particular prediction when it comes to Dundee United. But I do think I do think there's a good squad of players there. I just think it needs the right person in to get the most out of them. Jack Ross clearly wasn't that person based on the first 5 league games of the season. So it'll be a tough game, tougher game than it probably looks like on paper.
Greg, out with the obvious score goals, what do Hibs need to do to go to Tannadice and win? What players need to perform?
Everyone needs to perform. The minute you score goals, you're right. I think obviously Ewan Henderson probably deserves to be dropped. But we said that about Joe Neal, and he scored the winner at the weekend, so I'm not going to make any bold predictions that can come back and bite me, unlike Harry. But I'd like to see a front three of Ewan, McCurdy and Boyle, please.
I would be. What's the status of McCurdy's suspension? When does that kick in?
It's fine this weekend. It's
right, okay.
It kicks on for.
Ross County and Aberdeen is suspended for.
Right, okay. I'd be
absolute joke. He didn't even do anything.
I'd be expecting McCurdy to start then. Liam, I'm pretty sure you'd expect the same front three. What about in the midfield area of the park?
Probably if Josh Campbell's fit, probably that three in the middle of the pitch, to be honest. Don't think there'll be any changes to it. Probably suit us going to Dundee United with that level of energy in midfield. I'd probably be happy enough with it as well, to be honest. I think the big change would be the one that you've already alluded to, which would be getting Henderson off the left wing and probably putting probably putting Jan on the left and finding a place for McCurdy, I would imagine, through the middle. He's probably the kind of main option. I would imagine the Ukrainian guy, Kukovic.
Will he even have the work permit?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think he'll be having an international appearance by then, given how long some of the others took. So the Ukrainian National Embassy have probably got bigger fish to fry than sorting out work permits for unknown strikers. I would imagine. So,
for Big Mick.
And Harry, well, I'm assuming midfield and front line, you're sort of agreeing what everyone else is saying. Defensively, and or anywhere else, would you be looking to make any changes, or would it maybe just be that one of McCurdy in for Henderson?
I think that's the only logical change to make. Obviously, the standout underperformer at the moment, as much as we love him, Porteous just still doesn't seem to be at the races. But I don't think there's anybody worth their salt there to put in for him at the moment. I think if Rocky was fit, I would be starting Rocky over him and having a back two and centre back Hamlin and Rocky. But hopefully Porteous gets whatever's going on with him sorted quickly, because it's a problem. But then again, he does have his moments, like set up that goal for the free kick. So hopefully he can take some momentum out of that. But yeah, no, for me, exactly what you have said. I would put McCurdy in for Henderson, and that'd be it.
Okay, Liam, score prediction?
2-0 Hibs.
Harry?
3-0.
Greg?
3-1.
I'll go 4-2 Hibs. These are going to have a cracking away day, and I'll be watching it on a very legal method while building flat pack, and I'll be buzzing.
Sounds shy.
Sounds
Yeah,
awful.
right.
Sounds fucking awful.
That's a terrible way to be honest.
Sounds fucking awful.
You just want to change your mind now.
I might
have a ticket going spare.
I'll be texting you like, hey, I'm bringing the car up, I'm coming. No, right. Listener questions time. This is going to be a fairly shorter episode than we're used to, but that's what we like. There's nothing controversial. It was a comfortable 1-0 win at home. We expect to go to Tannadice and win, and that's what we want to see. But if you do need more content than what this is going to be, go watch last week's YouTube live or something like that. That'll perk you up. Right, listener question.
Liam looks concerned at that attempted plug, by the way, just to say.
Right, are we ready? Are we ready for listener questions?
Back on.
Right, first up, Jeff Ashton of Delivery and YouTube Live fame. I think we're seeing what Josh Doig brought to us in terms of getting down the line. Beating a man as Chabraha is a different animal. Most of our threat is down the right, apart from the occasional McCurdy dribble. We need Mitchell back, which might address this. I like Chabraha, by the way. And yeah, Chabraha doesn't look like the fullback to take on and hit the byline, does he? But is that also because he's had Ewan Henderson in front of him, who's been playing very narrow?
No, I don't exactly feel back. So I was coming on to that. I don't exactly feel back. I think he's a get it out of your feet, get it into the box kind of feel back. He's not. You're right though. He hasn't really played with anyone who's really given him the option of going down the line. Because even when Ewan's kind of been in the team, he's played pretty narrow off on the left. So maybe with Mitchell on the left wing, we'd get something out of him, albeit it was a very short period of time. But remember when Mitchell came on against St Johnstone for the last like 10-15 minutes, and
they got in each other's road.
Offered him fucking nothing, like to go beyond him or underlap or anything. So there's a lot of guys in the team in that wide area who I think are still trying to find the relationships with us in the sort of wide area. I still think that Cadden and Boyle need to figure out who's doing what on the right hand side as well. Opportunities for overlapping are there, but I don't know if we're always necessarily going for it.
Greg, maybe moving away from the question a little bit, but could there be a school of thought to potentially try Boyle on the left so that Chabraha gets that opportunity to play with that out and out winger when we know Cadden has the energy and legs to carry the right hand side with someone that might want to cut inside more?
No, absolutely not. No. For me, Chabraha is definitely a wing back who will cross from deep areas. I don't think he wants to get too far advanced. I think we've seen it against Rangers a couple of times when he did go all the way to the byline, but for me that's not his game. So we shouldn't be moving things about too much to try and
aid that.
Get him to do that. For me, I think he's doing a very good job at what he's doing. His delivery is better than Josh Doig. I think all round he's a more rounded player than Josh Doig. So yeah, but Josh Doig had a 5-yard pass and a tap in, so all of a sudden he's the best left back in the world.
Harry, are we sort of missing Josh Doig's attacking threat, do you think, on the left?
I don't think so. I think it's more missing that threat further up the pitch. Hopefully, Ewan or McCurdy or whoever Johnson decides to take that role. Because that's the thing, underlapping and overlapping is pretty much impossible if you've got an effective winger, which, no offence to Henderson, he has been in the last few weeks.
Cool. Next one up is Tony Swanson. Right. What kind of shooting drills do they do at Easter Road? Well struck from Newell, but the rest must be shooting with beach balls at practice. Get McCurdy through the middle. Could that be this week's? That's not a question, it's a statement. But what kind of shooting drills are they doing at Easter Road? Harry, what do you reckon they're practicing with at Easter Road?
I reckon they're just not doing enough shooting. I reckon they're focusing too much on shape and all those other bits of tactical nonsense that the modern day footballers practice. I reckon just get them in front of goal, hitting shots away, get the keepers nice and pumped up with shots, start scoring screamers in training, and you'll score them in the games. Not enough shooting drills done these days.
Liam, should Bojang start training with a medicine ball so that when he actually comes on the park?
I don't know what to do. No, I do.
No, I know. No, I agree.
It was fucking. It was an
Terrible.
atrocious attempt at a finish. Like, but I don't know what to do. Do you know the worst part? I think someone else maybe already said this. But see the way he shapes his body up. He shapes his body up all wrong as well. It's not like there's even like. It's not even like you can go, the technique's there. It's just not the execution. Like the technique and the execution were both.
He takes every touch with his right foot, but shoots with his left, which I find interesting. Like,
but he opened his body up the other way. He opened his body up to put it in that corner, and then he
like to go like near post if you like, and then tried to.
It's like he was trying to, like kind of double bluff the goalkeeper by going that way. Do you know what he clearly showed that at Boyne goals he can go past the goalie?
Yeah, I was expecting him to
That's
try
what you should
that.
do. See if you can't finish, take it past the goalie, and then just roll over the line or something. I did care.
Try and
so bad. It's
Greg,
just so bad.
The question wasn't even about Bojang, but does he still have the benefit of the doubt that we were giving him because of his lack of game time? Because something we spoke about last week was, well, ultimately, right now he has the same amount of goals as you have.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want me to say now? Let's write him off and release him.
No, but are we? No, Matt. Like, are we?
A few minutes.
Are we writing him off yet, or are we not?
No, we're not writing him off yet. No, I think he's played about 6 minutes all season. Let's settle down. And you know what, that could be a factor as well. You know, he's not been playing games. But
do you think he needs one to go off his arse like Deutsch did back in the day?
I don't know what he fucking needs, but he needs to do better than that.
He needs to go to the development team and score a hat trick against fucking Trent Juniors, and then he'll come back full of confidence, and he'll be banging them in. I seen a tweet at full time. I can't mind who tweeted it, but I just need to get this out quickly while I can. Someone said that it's like Bojang's attempt was like came in to get the fans on the pitch at half time when you get the ball from the
challenge.
And it came up, the finish was like, have you ever seen the video of Diana Ross where she
shot
before the 1994 World Cup in America?
Just there might be some logic behind your comment there, because I think the reserve team play their first league game of the season tomorrow. So actually wouldn't surprise me if he does get minutes in that. In fact, I'd be surprised if he didn't. Right, next up, Kevin Wilson, who featured a lot on our Twitter Spaces last week. Is McGuinness the missing link in midfield that gets us playing the way Johnson wants? And then he's got a second question, but we'll answer that first one. Well, first, Harry.
Any manager wants to play like Kyle McGuinness to play for them, so yes.
Greg and Liam, do you just pretty much echo that?
I think it might be an anticlimax when he comes back, to be honest.
Okay.
I think people are putting a lot of pressure on him already. And he's not even on the bench. So I think we need to be patient. We need to settle. We all know he's a very good football player, but we need to allow him the time. However, when he's up to speed, I think he could be. I think he will get in the box and score goals. But please be patient, for fuck's sake.
It's going to be a lot of minutes. Liam, what's your thoughts? Kyle McGuinness, is he the missing link to get us playing the way Johnson wants?
I love the answer to be yes, but Kyle McGuinness is a funny one, because he had 6 good weeks at the start of last season, context, and he had the entirety of that season previous where he made no or little impact really in the team. So actually, if you take Kyle McGuinness, because we've probably had a wee bit of like discourse about the ratings that they gave players on that review thing we did last week. They've taken over those 2 spells. Actually, there's been a huge amount of indifferent in 6 weeks of good. So I would love him to come back and be absolutely like he was during that 6-week period. But there was a system and a way of playing that really suited him at that point in time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he'll come back and make quite the same impact as he did during that 6 weeks, if I'm honest. But I'd love to be wrong.
Just interesting. Do you not think the system's fairly similar now? Because were we not starting with one up front at the start of last season?
We were, and he was playing very close to that central striker. At least his runs were ending up very close to that central striker, whether it be Nisbet or I think Deutsch came off the bench in quite a few of those games as well. I'm not sure he'll quite have the same freedom, given that we've got to have Boyle, Yuan, and a central striker probably on the park most of the time. But I don't know. Maybe like I just based on everything that's all the variables and all the context. I've just got a huge amount of reason to be very like guarded about it. I didn't want to go all in on it because I don't think my heart can take going all in on Kyle McGuinness, to be honest, again, for him to break down 2 minutes into his debut. Not his debut, but like, what did you call it? His comeback, sorry.
Yeah. Right. Second part of Kevin's question. Who wins a Royal Rumble between all the Hibs podcasters? There's so many.
Ryan Melville's spot on, by the way. Just to
say.
Him.
He said, I win it blindfolded. He's not wrong.
I think I'm putting my money...
And my hands tied behind my back as well, still win it.
I'm putting my money on Colin. Long bangers.
I reckon Colin would be a bit of a handy punt.
I'm putting my money on Colin. That rugby background, I think, might serve him well in a Royal Rumble, potentially. Used to getting bashed about.
I tell you what, some fucking big laddies. Like John, big laddie, Matty, big laddie, Colin, big laddie.
Huge.
I don't know if the Hibs talk boys would show up for it, though. That would be the only thing.
I think, Gav would be right up for it. Gav loves his wrestling.
Right, okay.
True.
Gav loves his wrestling.
Wrestling's fake, mate.
Well, so's the Royal Rumble. So's the Royal Rumble. So's the fucking Royal Rumble, Greg.
Is he going to fucking Batista bomb somebody like?
We've already talked about fighting the boys for Hibs Rambo, so we've been out with that 2 weeks in a row.
Right.
But if I wanted it, easy.
Right, Dave Graham, does McCartney have the smallest shin guards in football? I mean, they've got to be wee kiddie. They've got he's put toilet rolls in there, hasn't
he? So they actually do. I've seen this on TikTok. Actually, they do shin pads that must be about 10 centimeters.
And is that like the minimum requirement or something? Is it?
I don't know, but these things are tiny, mate. Like they would literally, you can't really see them. They're fucking tiny. You can't really see them.
Right.
Why do footballers do that? Is it just a comfort thing?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's probably the same reason that he has his socks at his ankles, mate.
It's a real style thing in football, the way like things come and go. Because I noticed Martin Boyle's come back, and I don't know if he's on the score, but his socks are way over the top of his knees.
He did. He was doing that for a period. And have you noticed the player? I think McCarthy done it as well. Like tucking the shorts up. I think Lampard used to do it a lot. Like tuck the shorts up really high.
Mm-hmm.
John Terry used to have the shorts up like underneath his nipples, basically.
Really, really strange. Anyway,
they also some players also cut the back of their socks.
Noticed that.
Yeah.
I know why that is. I know why that is. To do with the compression and to help them make cramp and stuff. But Kyle, what you seen Kyle Walker's socks, man? Oh, they are.
Kyle Walker's up.
Look like the moon.
Kyle Walker's shite, mate.
Right. I agree. Ben Lister, why do we rarely put a man on the goalkeeper at corners? Right. If I'm being honest, if that's talking about Hibs attacking corners, Harry McCurdy was on the goalkeeper for every corner in the second half, and I can't remember any corners in the first half. But McCurdy, when he was on the pitch, took up the position right in front of the goalkeeper, and I remember noticing it because did he come on at a corner, and he went straight in front of the keeper, or there was a corner right after he came on, and I noticed that.
Oh, you remember that level of detail,
I know.
Man. You're like fucking Rain Man, eh?
I honestly think you've made that up.
No, I've not, and I can tell you why. I can actually tell you why I remember.
Made that up.
No, I can tell you why I remember because I just thought my brain does stupid. I was wondering who would pick him up, and because I can't imagine, like when they're working on shape and stuff, had McCurdy even signed in that? So I was like, who would pick him up? So I looked for him in the box, and he was right in front of the goalkeeper. That was where he was, and I just paid attention to it the rest of the time. Apologies.
Having a player on the goalie can sometimes be detrimental because goalies just fought the slightest contact. It's a defender's dream, that, to be honest.
Seen them give, I don't know if it's just a small sample size of the season, but seen them given less this season. So there was a point last season, I remember, like basically fucking 1 in every 2 corners was stopped because the goalie.
Every time the ball went in the box, it was a free kick straight away.
Was there no some chat? Even the goal we scored at St Johnstone could have been called off for a foul on the goalkeeper. No, not that it would have been, but
they were appealing for it. For a small time.
Right, next. Owen Frederick, will McCurdy score more goals in Scotland than Haaland will in England this season? No, that's my answer. Liam?
Fucking stupid questions.
Haaland's got a 10 go ahead starting him, I know.
I mean, hopefully, but...
Harry?
Wait, question. Will Harry McCurdy score as many goals as Haaland's already scored this season? That's a more realistic question.
Yes. Yes, he will.
What was that, 9?
Liam's
9 already.
10. No, he's on 10.
10.
And that's just in the league. I don't know if he scored in like the Community Shield or
that.
It's a big step up Swindon Town. I mean, let's get it right.
Yeah.
League 2 down in England is a jobbers league, and he scored 22 last season.
24, I think.
I think 22 in the league, 24 all comps. Scored against City in the cup.
We're already out of the League Cup. That takes away a number of goals that you can get against the shite. Scottish Cup, potentially draw. I think he'll finish on or around 10.
Cool.
I'm going to put my neck in the line. He'll get 15.
Ben Lister literally replied saying the question should be, will he hit double figures this season? So there we go.
15.
Cool.
In the league.
How many is Bojan going to score this season?
4.
-2.
2 own goals.
Ross Quinn, is it time to get rid of Lee Johnson and go for the record of most managers in a season? I think we could get Dick from Arbroath just for banter, then just work our way through the championship. Maybe we could learn from the wee team that putting son of the owner in charge of recruitment is crap. Just to be clear, I think we need to keep Johnson, give him time, ladder. Although the recruitment point, I'm being deadly serious. If we start buying players from a Peruvian club, I'll start to worry. Right, that's this week's. That's a statement, not a question.
That's a Bible, not a question. Fuck
that's
it.
A Ewan Wilson question. A lot of words, but actually no question.
Ross, you're going to
do a statement.
Ross, tweet us about. Ask again next week.
Have another go.
See the thing with Johnson. For me, it's a problem that we're even talking about at this stage. But someone's felt the need to say that he deserves backing. Of course, he deserves backing. He's fucking 6 league games into his reign.
Let's be honest. Coming into the season, what do we expect Hibs? When probably realistically inconsistent as fucking. What is it? 2 wins, 2 draws, and 2 defeats. Is that right? Right. Yeah. Right, Mikey Love, can you fit Ewan, Boyle, McCurdy, big Ukrainian Dave in the same squad? Do you think having a focal point in Kukarevich?
I think that's a good goal.
Will solve the stalling strike force? I'd love to see a big sort of target man like him and then let the free run riot off him. I think it could be an option, but we've not even seen him kick a ball yet, have we? So that's my 2 pennies on it. What's your thoughts?
I just think at some point on you go.
Did score a good goal in pre-season against Leicester. He took the ball for the second half. I think it's going to be very tactical when he plays. I think he will be played against certain teams, possibly, and maybe not against others. He's a good option, I would imagine, off the bench, having a big guy like that. So, yeah, everyone's got a part to play, to be honest. So. I'll sit firmly on the fence for that one.
I was going to say, a lot of options on the final third now, isn't there? A lot of options.
Yeah, just get them all on. We don't need defend.
Harry, what were you going to say? Liam, I seen you were going to come in there.
I was going to say, I think at some point, Johnson, like, just with him, how sometimes he's frantic to change things. I reckon at one point he's going to go gung-ho. I reckon we're going to see about 7 strikers on the pitch, or 7 attacking players on the pitch at one time, and he's going to be the focal point, and everybody, we've got like 6 boys attempting to run in behind. I want to bring back Heart Attack Hibs, where we're scoring like 5 goals a game but conceding 3. Bring back the Lenny days, but with Johnson instead. That'd be a laugh.
Liam, is there a train of thought that we could potentially see a team this season that has maybe, let's say, Kyle McGuinness and Joe Newell as the midfield 2, with Yuan off the left, McCurdy in the middle, Boyle on the right, and Nisbet up top?
Definitely a possibility. I mean, Yogi played 4-2-4 a fair bit because he had so much attacking talent and not a huge amount of midfield talent. I think he played maybe Miller and McBride, or Rankin and McBride as the 2.
Paddy Craig.
Or Craig. And Stokes, Nish, Riordan,
Zamama
or Benji.
Both fine. Both fine.
So it can be done against some of the shite in the league. It's probably not going to be a team that you play for 90 minutes, but you could probably put that out for a period in a game where you're prepared to kind of almost just give up midfield and just go for it. It is a bit Hail Mary, to use words that Harry would probably use. But I quite like that, you know, particularly if we get someone in the Scottish Cup who we know are going to sit back. What better way to use it? And the only thing issue I'd maybe take with that is I think Nisbet and McCurdy will be in the team to do very similar things. So I think I'd be more of a fan of us doing that, especially if we're trying to get balls into the box with this big Kukarevich up top. Because just having looked at him, I think he looks 2 cliches that get used about big, tall centre forwards. One of them is the one that Greg talked about a couple of weeks ago. He's got good feet for a big man. The other one is he looks mobile for a big man, and he does look mobile. He looks like he can actually move. So he looks as though he'll be dynamic enough to play with Boyle and Yuan. So, fuck it, play 4-2-4.
However, see when you get strikers that are this tall, are they target men? Because sometimes they're that tall and they actually aren't target men at all. So who knows?
I think at this time
I'm guessing someone at the club knows, but you know, you've not actually watched them play. There's not a big enough sample size. I mean, James Collins liked to go onto his feet to do nothing wet. So, I think with the height he maybe is, but you don't actually know. It might not be his style.
Right. Next. We said this was going to be quick. Right, next question. 1875. Would it be the most Hibs thing ever to lose 1-0 on Saturday? I'm going to say it wouldn't be the most Hibs thing ever because we've not been good enough yet for it to be the most Hibs thing ever. Fair. Greg?
Yeah, agreed.
Liam?
I think.
But it absolutely would be the most Hibs thing ever.
I think a 0-0 would be more Hibs thing, but aye.
Liam, you were shaking your head as we read that question. Is it because we're going to win? Or?
It's not the most Hibs thing ever. I thought it's fucking miles from it. It's like, I fucking hate the shouts though. The most Hibs thing ever, or typical Hibs. I hate that fucking shout. Just get in the bin. We need to do a room 101 on this sometime so I can bin all these terrible shouts at all the Hibs.
Every club says the same thing. Oh, that's typical us to do that. Every club in the land says that.
Pish patter. Move on.
Right, next question. Lord Bald. How many league goals would Haaland score in the SPFL and why is it over 50? Because he's really good and centre halves in Scotland are right.
Depends on the team he plays for.
No, it doesn't.
If he played for the Celtics team,
come on.
No, if he was playing for the Celtic team, he'd be
he would literally take the ball off the goalie and just steam through everything and then score.
No, if he was at Celtic, he'd be I genuinely think he'd hit about 60 goals this season. If he played for Hibs, I reckon he'd break 50.
If he played for Hibs, he'd do the training that they used to. If he played for Hibs, he'd just get hit with the same fucking thing that all of them have for the last year and a half and score 5 this season. No, he's an absolute monster. He is an absolute monster, Haaland.
Can you imagine Erling Haaland facing up a 36-year-old Stephen Craigan when he was at Motherwell, and Motherwell are like forcing everybody forward to try and get a late equaliser, and he's just running at Stephen Craigan.
Craigan just folds like a dick.
What would be who would be the equivalent of Craigan this season? Maybe Considine at St Johnstone, maybe? Is that a bit harsh?
That's harsh. I don't think he's that bad though.
Eh?
Connor Goldson.
Oh my God, he's a donkey.
Right, next question. Ian, is Ewan Henderson more suited to continental football than SPFL? Hope Saturday would have been his dream scenario. 80% possession first half, opponents sitting in and needing unlocked. What most games were like for him at Celtic when he featured, but he looked like he didn't fancy it. I think we've covered that off. I think, Liam, you even potentially covered does the SPFL work for him? But what's our thoughts on Henderson if we've got anything further than what we said earlier?
He just needs to be doing more. The more he is.
Do you think Ian said, but I thought he didn't really fancy it? Do you think he didn't fancy it, or like I personally think he was trying? Like I just think he looked really leggy.
I think he was fancying. I don't think he was shying away. I just think that it just wasn't working. It just wasn't coming out for him. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say he wasn't fancying it. I think that's a wee bit off it, to be fair.
I saw a couple of tweets saying that the difference between him and Liam is that Liam put an effort and Ewan doesn't. I don't buy
I don't think that's fair.
I don't think that's fair at all.
I've never once thought that about him, to be fair.
No, neither have I.
No.
There was quite a few tweets about that on Saturday after the game. I just thought it was a bit misjudged.
I think Henderson gets really, really frustrated, even as you look at the volume of bookings he's already had this season, and I generally see frustration comes from a place of like I want to succeed, and so I wouldn't. That's not something that I would couple together. But that's maybe going down a psychological thing that we're not fit for. Haley, all players being fit, what's our best front line? Harry, you first.
Sorry, I was on doubt a second. What did you ask?
All players
Harry,
fit.
mate, you need to switch on.
Doesn't even go to the game. Doesn't switch on.
Doesn't turn up.
Lives in London, so he's probably wanking over his picture of Liz Truss. Right. Harry, all players being fit, what's our best front line? So tell us what the formation is for that, and then the players that are in it.
4-2-4, left Ewan, middle McCurdy, Nisbet, right Boyle.
Greg.
Would agree.
Liam.
Just to be different, I'll go Boyle, Ewan, Bojan. No, I don't really mean that. Boyle, Ewan, Nisbet.
That's the three.
Right.
I'm going the same with you guys, but I'd like to see McCurdy a little bit off Nisbet and let Nisbet just fucking stay in the box, or even Nisbet off McCurdy. If McCurdy's better fox in the box, let Nisbet come deep. We've seen that he's very good at that.
I would rather have Nisbet a little bit deeper. We've seen that work before, so
yep.
You're wrong, Ewan.
Was it Hamilton?
Absolutely.
Was it Hamilton away when Deutsch was?
And he was very effective.
Yeah.
He's got the touch to play the 10. Definitely got the touch to play the 10. He's very, very underrated back to goal as well. A lot of Hibs fans don't think he's very good at it. I think he does some of his best work.
Definitely technical enough to play there. So I would rather have McCurdy further up, maybe more of a poacher and Nisbet behind.
I'd love to see that as the 4 when Nisbet's fit and firing, probably after the World Cup, and you see just that midfield 2 I mentioned earlier. I think McGuinness and Joe Neal as a 2 would be capable enough in this
for the first 5 minutes. Maybe.
It's all right if you're 4-0 up at that point, no, Greg. Right, next question. Logan Simpson, Ryan Melville's brother, right?
Aye.
Does Paul Hanlon score Bojan's shocker? So
I'm going to be honest, yes.
I'd back him.
I think you could probably pick some boys.
Liam, who did you say? Who did you say at the game you'd rather have?
You and Wilson.
Richard.
Well, then I've seen you and Wilson play, and I would much rather Bojang was
Mr. Bojangles.
Richard has asked, it's a myth that, this is a statement. It's a myth that Newell holds back Doyle Hayes. It's the other way about.
Incorrect.
Is it not just a case that they don't complement each other well?
Yeah.
Because they both look better when the other one's not playing. But also, I think Longbanger spoke about it. Is it more that they need the right player there as well? Be that Noah Kenna.
Can I just say one bit of tuppence with this, and I'll let Harry come in, because I think Harry's probably got some thoughts on this too. But the whole Doyle Hayes Newell debate has now become another piece of division amongst the Hibs support. It's like you've got to like one but not the other. And I don't know why everyone has to take a position. Can you not just accept that both of them are individually good players, but they just don't bring the best out in each other? You don't need to be one over the other. It's like this whole happy clappers, bedwetters pish that people come out with. It's like the fucking, there's millions of other examples. It's the, we celebrate our Irish heritage, we don't celebrate our Irish heritage. There's just so many things that we find a way to be divided on. Actually, instead of just focusing on what we're all there to do, which is support the club. Doyle Hayes and Newell are quite similar type players. I think they're quite similar in terms of their level of ability. I think Doyle Hayes is obviously a good bit younger. I think his ceiling's probably slightly higher than Joe Newell's, is what I would say. But they both are individually good players, but probably just not in the same team at the moment.
Do you find it really strange that I think on paper they should complement each other so well? I think Doyle Hayes' passing ability is a bit better. I think Joe Newell's got more of an engine. I still, to this day, believe that Joe Newell can do so much more in the final third, and I just hope that one day we fucking see it in a Hibs shirt. I think he can be that player that does get you 7 goals for midfield. I think that's possible, but aye, for whatever.
Doyle Hayes can actually tackle though.
But that's what I mean, Greg. The strengths. I don't think Doyle Hayes can do what Joe Newell can do in the final third in terms of scoring goals or that box to box energy. I don't think Doyle Hayes has got that, is my thoughts. But yeah, I think even there it should work. It should, but it doesn't. We've seen it. We've seen it. Right. Next question.
I was poised to say something there after me, I think, by the way.
Oh, sorry, man. Harry, on you go.
No, that's all right. I don't think we've ever seen Doyle Hayes utilised properly. I think that I think it was his debut against Motherwell, where he set up one of the goals. Like, I've always wanted to see him a bit further up the pitch than we've ever seen him. That's my 2 cents on it. I think it's entirely unfair to say that Doyle Hayes is holding Newell back when Newell's had a lot more chances than Doyle Hayes has had. And Doyle Hayes is consistently looked good without Newell, whereas Newell's not consistently looked good without Doyle Hayes, in my opinion. Not trying to sit on. I'm not trying to do what Liam's just alluded to and sit on one side of the fence. That's just my impression of seeing them both play with and without each other.
Have either of them played without each other that often?
Newell has a few times this season, and I think until he played well first game of the season, he played well at the weekend, but apart from that, he's been pretty pish. And Doyle Hayes has played maybe like a handful, maybe like 2 or 3 games, I think, without him, in which he's looked all right.
Okay, cool. Who starts if all fit? This is from John Tolmie. Melkerson, McCurdy, Nisbet. For me, we've answered it. McCurdy and Nisbet. Melkerson probably doesn't get looking.
Sounds right down the pecking order, isn't he?
Concussion, I think he was out with at the weekend.
Yeah.
He's closer to the minutes that he should be getting, to be honest. I don't think he was brought in to make an instant impact in the team, and I think that a few games against the lower sides in the league and coming off the bench quite often would suit him well for the stage that he's at in his career.
Cool.
Tough choice striker now, though. Sorry.
No, sorry, man. Right, second to last question. Techno Hibby 07. Are sneaky vapours becoming a problem at Easter Road?
Sneaky.
Boy got told to put us away. I can't remember if it was the Rangers game or the Hearts game. One of the stewards who do absolutely fuck all. By the way, came and told them to put the vapes down. I tell you what, who cares all about the stewards they'll do and that movement and that Aberdeen fan of the weekend.
They're not in their seats. Well,
I
must have no speaking.
What an experience. She'll not be back. She'll be taking her M&S Bolivon somewhere else.
Right, and last.
She must be a right laugh at parties. Like.
Oh, mate.
Yeah, I've watched that video an unnatural amount of times. There's nothing even special about it. It's just so addictive to watch.
It's the boy behind her.
The boy behind makes it.
Right.
Super.
And to wrap us up, John McIntosh, he did ask us 2 questions, but one of them was how many goals is McCurdy getting this season? We have answered that already. He says, we know the script. What was for dinner? Greg.
She's got it right this week. Venison, meatballs, and spaghetti.
Oh, maybe the list trust pictures up in.
See before I came on the night, right? Was like, don't just say you had meatballs. It was venison meatballs. And I was like, no bother, Elaine, I'll do that. So,
culture. Liam, you normally have something interesting.
I had made chili con carne yesterday, so I had leftover chili con carne, but instead of having it on rice, I had it on a baked potato with a bit of cheese and some
Nice.
sour cream, some homemade guacamole. It was very, very good. I like chili con carne. It's one of my favourite dinners.
Nice.
Very good.
Harry,
second day as well.
please tell me you never had chicken, tatties, and broccoli.
I've not actually had it yet because I was late on to the pod. But
Jeez, he'd
boys,
had it,
boys,
yeah.
boys, I'm mixing it up. You'll be happy to know. I'm having the best cut of chicken, which is the chicken thighs. Very juicy, very succulent. And I'm going to have a chicken thigh curry because I've got this like curry
Nice.
paste that you can make. Going to cut up some onions, maybe a bit of garlic, and then, you know, just spice up my life. It is going to be with rice, but here we are. Carbs are always fun.
Homemade Chinese chicken curry then.
Essentially, aye.
Sounds good, mate. I don't know what I'm having. I've not even thought about. Not even fucking thought about it yet.
Mate, John needs to know. Well, you better be tweeting tonight what you're having because John needs to know.
I will do, man. I will do. See what the boss says. Right, lads, I enjoyed that. Hibs won. It's always a nice feeling. Here's hoping we're back next Monday doing the same. And aye, cheers.
Goodbye.
So,
God bless.